Wagwan. Good morning, good night, welcome back. And if you're listening for the first time, welcome to episode 8 of The Real Situation, where we give you a taste of Jamaican politics. I'm your host, Melanie Byfield, and in this series, we are focusing on Jamaica's journey to becoming a republic. Hope you had a meaningful Independence Day, and I say that because this year felt a little different. A lot to reflect on, Sending up a heap of prayers, though, for those in parishes who are still without light and water and suffering, other losses after Hurricane Beryl. The Olympics felt a little bit deflated, but sending the utmost respect to the Jamaican athletes who gave it their all, no matter what place they came in. It's a small window of opportunity to put years of training into a few perfect seconds. And it was bittersweet for some, celebrating being an independent country, knowing Jamaica still has a king. Lots to talk about, but let's start with what's been happening on this road to becoming a republic. A couple of articles I'll share with you. August 7, 2024, the Jamaica Gleaner had an article titled "Time for a New Motto." The author believes that the old motto should be replaced with a new one that represents the future vision for Jamaica, and suggests this title, "Striving for Sustained Unity, Peace and Love every day and in every way." The actual Jamaica national motto is "Out of many, one people," based on the population's multiracial roots. The motto is represented on the coat of arms, showing a male and female member of the Taino tribe standing on either side of a shield, which bears a red cross with 5 golden pineapples. The crest shows a Jamaican crocodile mounted on the royal helmet of the British monarchy and mantling. What are your thoughts on the motto and the coat of arms? Out of many, but 92% of Jamaica's population is Black African. Maybe we should wheel and come again with the motto and the coat of arms. Maybe that's something we can put out there for public comment and participation. But Mr. Author, Patrick Gallimore, good point. I mean, I'm not a fan of the proposed replacement, but a good point. August 7, the Jamaica Observer had an article, "An Independence We Can Be Proud Of," and I'm going to read you a quote from that article. "We must strive to remove the lasting vestiges of colonialism that continue to be a blot on our national pride. We cannot say we are independent and still continue to have the king of our colonial past as our head of state, or make laws that cannot become effective unless they're signed by the king's representative, the Governor-General, and whose appellate jurisdiction still lies with the colonial Privy Council. We must be more serious about the need for radical constitutional change that will place power in the hands of the people, that will truly seek to liberate them from the mental enslavement that is far too prevalent, that will give them the psychological satisfaction that they are real and true stakeholders in this project called Jamaica." The author is Dr. Raulston Nembhard, who is a priest, social commentator, and author. Real talk, sir. Yes, radical constitutional change that will place power in the hands of the people. Attainable, of course. Jamaica's on the road to becoming a republic. We are in phase 1 of 3, which involves amending the colonial instrument called as follows: Jamaica, Constitution, Order in Council, 1962. Statutory Instruments, 1962, number 1550. Caribbean and North Atlantic Territories, the Jamaica, Constitution, Order in Council, 1962. That's the caption of the document. that classifies it as a statutory instrument. What's a statutory instrument? It's a type of legislation in the UK that allows for changes to an Act of Parliament without the need for a new Act. So they're basically a secondary, a delegated, or a subordinate legislation. So basically that document is a statute, and a statute is a command. It commands something, prohibits or declares something, right? Yeah, so we're going to take a stroll through what the document contains, and I will actually post the Ordering Council of 1962 on my podcast page. I just wanted to confirm, though, I have no constitutional experience. I do have a legal background, but I'm not, I'm just reviewing this from a regular person's point of view, right? So, the Constitution was made on the 23rd of July, 1962, and it was laid before Parliament on July 24, 1962. There are certain sections that came into order before that date, and before August 6, right? And it's actually broken out into 3 schedules. The first schedule has 22 sections, and it contains orders to be revoked, or just orders which were going to continue, existing and pending laws, certain interpretations. Governor is now Governor General, the Premier is now the Prime Minister, them sitting there, and it supersedes the Jamaica Constitution Ordering Council of 1959, its amendment, and also the Jamaica Constitution Amendment Ordering Council of 1961, other than where it says those provisions remain. For example, the Police Service, Judicial and Police and Retirement of Entitled Officers Regulations of 1961 remained. So it begins by stating that the order is made pursuant to the West Indies Act, Section 5, subsection 1, which basically gives the Queen the power to make this order in council. The Constitution is cited or referred to as the Jamaica, in parentheses, Constitution Order in 1962. Section 2 says that provided that, basically, here's what it does. It gives the Governor General certain powers. It says the Governor General has the power to make any appointment or to make any order or to do any other thing for the purposes of this order. That power may be exercised by the Governor of the colony of Jamaica at any time after the 24th day of July. Remember, we were saying certain things come in right away, right? 1962, to such extent as may, in his opinion, be necessary or expedient to enable the Constitution established by this order to function as from the commencement of this order. So, on a go on thing, so the Governor General is just ceremonial, right? Him have power. The second schedule. So the second schedule is the Constitution of Jamaica. It's broken down into 10 chapters. It contains 138 sections, but we're just going to breeze through some and pay a little more attention to others. Right, so we're going to skip to chapter 2 that addresses citizenship applicable to people like me who are first generation Jamaican. It outlines the establishment of citizenship by birth, descent for first and second generation Jamaicans, and marriage. So if your mother, your father, or your grandparents are Jamaican, you are entitled to Jamaican citizenship by descent. Chapter 3 addresses the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, which was amended in 2011 during the Bruce Golden administration. And during his reasoning, he spoke very proudly about, how he reached consensus with Portia and Simpson Miller to get that amendment passed. On the Jamaicans Justice for website, actually, there's a great simplified version of the Charter. And it contains rights like the right of every citizen of Jamaica to be registered to vote, the right to enjoy a healthy and productive environment, free from the threat of injury or damage, from environmental abuse and degradation of the ecological heritage, and also the right to equality before the law. Chapter 4 addresses the Governor-General. Mr. Golden actually made a statement, Bruce Golden that is, in his reasoning, and basically stated that the Governor-General has more power in Jamaica than Charlie have in the UK. True, you know. Not ceremonial, quasi-executive. He has the power to make rules and regulations. Section 27 of Chapter 4, within Chapter 4, establishes the Governor-General as Her Majesty's representative in Jamaica. Subsection 3 states where the Governor-General is directed to exercise any function after consultation with any person or authority, he shall not be obliged to exercise that function in accordance with the advice of that person or authority. And Section 33, the Governor-General shall keep and use the broad seal for sealing all things whatsoever that shall pass under the said seal. The broad seal is how a document is authenticated, basically, to document of the highest importance, sealed by a high-ranking official. Chapter 5 establishes Parliament. Under Part 1, there's two parts that we're going to look at. Part 1, Section 34 says, there shall be a Parliament of Jamaica which shall consist of Her Majesty, a Senate, and a House of Representatives. Section 35 basically establishes how many senators there will be, right? So 21 senators who are 13 of which are appointed by the Governor-General, acting in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister. The remaining 8 are appointed by the Governor-General, acting in accordance with the advice of the Leader of the Opposition. And then Section 37 goes on to talk about the qualification and disqualification for being a member of the House of Representatives or a senator. And basically you need to be a citizen or a Commonwealth citizen and reside in Jamaica for at least a year, and you have to be 21. Section 40 talks about the whole dual citizenship argument, but it's pertaining really specifically to this allegiance to a foreign power. And basically, that foreign power part relates to countries that are not Commonwealth countries. So that's why in that litigation against Minister Vaz, he had to surrender his US citizenship because the United States is not a Commonwealth country, and so it's regarded as a foreign power for the purposes of this constitution. Little fun fact. So Section 46. Section 46 has a penalty for unqualified persons sitting or voting in either house of $20. Now $20 is like a penny, so somebody need to look upon that, right? Okay, Part 2 of Chapter 5 is the powers and procedures of Parliament. Section 48, subsection 1 says, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, Parliament may make laws for the peace, order and good government of Jamaica. Now, Section 45 is the big one, right? How the Constitution can be amended, and that's part of what we are addressing in this phased approach. with phase 1 dealing with the matters that are fully entrenched. Right, so section 49 lists the sections which are entrenched and must be passed by both houses, and the fully entrenched sections are as follows. So it's section 49 itself, there's 13 of them. Section 49 itself, there is section 2, which is the effect of this constitution. Section 34, subsections these are, right? Subsection 2 is the effect of this constitution. Subsection 34, which is the establishment of Parliament. 35, which is the Senate. Sorry, they are sections. Section 36, the House of Representatives. Section 39, that is the qualification for membership of the Senate and House of the Representatives. Section 63, subsection 2. Section 63 is sessions of Parliament, but it's subsection 2, which is fully entrenched. The sections 34, subsections 2, 3 and 5, section 34 is prorogation and dissolution of Parliament. Section 65, general elections and appointments of senators. Section 68, applies to subsection 1, the executive authority of Jamaica, and any provisions of the Jamaica Independence Act 1962. Subsection 1 of that act reads, as from the 6th of August 1962. It basically says that, from the 6th day of August 1962, in this act referred to as the appointed day, Her Majesty's government in the United Kingdom shall have no responsibility for the government of Jamaica. So those are the sections of the Constitution where it has to be passed by both houses, including one opposition vote and the referendum. Okay, moving on to section 60, which is regarding the assent to bills. Subsection 1 says that a bill shall not become law until the Governor-General has assented thereto in Her Majesty's name and on Her Majesty's behalf, and has signed it in token of such assent. Let me read that one more time. So a bill shall not become law until the Governor-General has assented thereto in Her Majesty's name and on Her Majesty's behalf, and has signed it in token of such assent. Section 61. Bills must start with the wording, be it enacted by the Queen's Most Excellent Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate and the House of Representatives of Jamaica. Moving on to Chapter 6, Executive Powers. Section 68, subsection 1, the executive authority of Jamaica is vested in Her Majesty. Subsection 2 confirms that that authority may be exercised on her behalf by the Governor-General or his subordinate. So, me give you one joke. So I'm in the tax office one day in Jamaica, and there's a picture of the Governor-General sitting above the Prime Minister. Some asks, I'm not getting the answer. So that's the reason why. The monarch is the executive authority in Jamaica. That means that the Governor-General is the representative, right? So he, on the organizational structure in Jamaica, the Governor-General sits higher than the Prime Minister because the monarchy is the highest authority in Jamaica. Moving on to Section 69. Section 69 establishes the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Section 72E talks about when there can be a vacancy of the office of the Prime Minister. And that can occur if he resigns, or she, I should say. So when I mean he, meaning also she, right? So if he resigns, if he no longer is a member of Parliament, except if Parliament is dissolved. For any other reasons under Section 41, and that talks about when a seat becomes vacant. And also if the Governor-General revokes his appointment in accordance with Section 2. In accordance with the provisions of subsection 2 of this section, which basically say that by majority of all members of the House, the appointment of the PM should be revoked. Section 79 establishes the office of the Governor-General, who is the principal legal advisor to the government of Jamaica. Section 80 establishes the leader of the opposition, which can be revoked by the Governor-General if that leader of the opposition is unable to command the majority, the support of the majority of those who do not support the government in the House. Section 82 establishes a Privy Council for Jamaica, which is a 3-year appointment. The Prime Minister was actually appointed to the Privy Council in 2021. And Section 90 gives the Governor-General pardoning powers. So in the monarch's name, the Governor-General can grant to any person convicted of an offence under against the law of Jamaica, he can grant a pardon. He can also grant respite, either indefinite or for a specific period from an execution. He can substitute a less severe form of punishment for that imposed on any person for such an offence. And he can also remit the whole or part of any punishment imposed on any person for any offence, for any penalty or forfeiture. And that exercise of powers is conferred on him by this section, and he has to, so in the exercise of the powers conferred on him by that section, the Governor-General acts on the recommendation of the Privy Council. Sorry, getting a little bit tongue-twisted there. Section 94 establishes the office of the DPP. Moving on to Chapter 7. That deals with the judicature. Quotes them right. All right, part 1 is the Supreme Court, part 2 is the Court of Appeal, and part 3 deals with appeals to Her Majesty in Council. That is the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. Section 110 establishes more in that regard. So an appeal shall lie from decisions of the Court of Appeal to Her Majesty in Council as of right in the following cases. Excuse me. Where the value of a case is more than $1,000 or up. And again, $1,000 is $6.37. So, yeah. Property or a right of the value of $1,000 or upwards. You can see like this, obviously this document is 1962 and 1,000 Jamaican dollars. Then don't compare to 1,000 Jamaican dollars now, right? Okay, so your rights of appeal are a case over $1,000 or up. Property or a right of the value of $1,000 or up. Final decisions in any civil proceedings, final decisions in regarding divorce, the interpretation of the Constitution, and also you can seek leave of the Court of Appeal to appeal to the Privy Council in cases that are regarded of great general or public importance. Part 4 of this Chapter 7 establishes the Judicial Services Commission. Those are judicial appointments. Chapter 8 is Finance. Section 114 establishes the Consolidated Fund, and that authorises any money that the Finance Minister spends, right? Section 120 establishes the Auditor General, who audits the accounts for the government and courts and submits an annual report to the Speaker, which is then laid in Parliament. Chapter 9 confers the functions of the public service, which is responsible for the appointments to public offices, as well as the removal or disciplinary action in that regard. Chapter 10 is miscellaneous, talks about powers and procedures of commissions, and the third schedule talks about a Tribunals Act, which involves matters of public concern. And that was our review of the Constitution. I do want to jump back to 2 updates, which I intentionally left, towards the end. So on August 6th, I watched a YouTube show by the spectacular Dion Jackson Miller called "I'm Pessimistic About Removing the King as Head of State." Dion went on to say, that we've been making moves to abolish the monarchy as head of state long time, right? Michael Manley in the 70s aimed for Jamaica to become a republic by 1981. P.J. Patterson, the same in 2003, aiming for 2007. Portia Simpson Miller in 2012 said, "Queen Lady, me like you. Me like you, But time come." And Andrew Holness told Will and Kate we're moving on in 2022. And here we are. In 2024. Still in the same position. She gave 5 ways in which Charlie impacts our daily lives, right? 1, Parliament. Bills must be signed into law by the Governor-General, the King's representative, or we won't take effect. We just spoke about that, right? Number 2, King's Council. It's a designation, KC. It's a designation. It used to be QC, Queen's Council. Now it's KC, Coava King. It's a designation for top litigators, right? Top of their profession. People like Peter Champagne, Paula Llewellyn, Valerie Nita Robinson. Lloyd Barnett actually refused to apply because he does not want that designation. In Trinidad, lawyers of that stature are referred to as senior counsel, and I say that because Trinidad is a republic, right? Crown land, that's how government land is referred to. Number 4, the Governor-General's residence is called King's House. And, Dion goes on to say, look, it could be called something like Hibiscus House, right? Or Hummingbird House, something Jamaican. And number 5 of the ways that Charlie impacts our daily lives is judges. In Jamaica, a judge is called Milord or Milady, as they do in the UK after English nobility. In the Caribbean Court of Justice, judges are called Your Honour, as they are in most countries, and actually as they're called in the parish courts in Jamaica. Speaking of judges, on August the 6th, there was an article in the Jamaica Observer called "Jamaican-born jurist appointed acting president of CCJ." As the most senior judge of the court, Justice Winston Anderson will act as president until September 16, while the president, Justin Adrian Saunders, is on leave. So Justice Winston Anderson is actually the first Jamaican and the youngest judge appointed to the Caribbean Court of Justice. I'd like to read you an excerpt from a transcript, right, that's titled "The Benefits to Jamaica and the Caribbean of Full Accession to the Caribbean Court of Justice." And it's a speech that Justice Anderson gave at the Jamaica High Commission in London on January 15, 2013. And I quote, "The court is fully functioning in its original jurisdiction, and ordinary Jamaican nationals are able to access the court to ask questions which are of value to the entire region. The European Court of Human Rights only heard 10 cases in its first 10 years. By comparison, in the first 7 years of the CCJ, there have been over 60 judgments that were delivered just in the appellate jurisdiction alone, with more cases still pending. So the trend thus far has been favourable and encouraging." He goes on to talk about access to justice. In the last 5 years, again I quote, "In the last 5 years, before Barbados abolished appeals to the Privy Council, a total of 8 appeals went from Barbados up to the Privy Council. However, in the 7 years since Barbados joined the appellate jurisdiction of the CCJ, there have been 25 appeals already. In other words, there's been an increase of almost 120% in the number of Barbadian citizens gaining the benefit of a second or final appeal." I added that excerpt after reading an article that claimed that the CCJ are ready and that they are rock stars for quashing the conviction of Vybz Kartel. Bruce Golding thinks differently, though. And, while he's admittedly not a legal scholar, he is asking the legal community to do some research, produce some data about the performance of the court. And he's particularly concerned with the ease of access more so than the whole colonial argument, right? Not only is there the issue of applying for a visa to attend the Apex Court in London, which you're not guaranteed to get. I mean, there's airfare, lawyers, fees, hotel, etc. But there's a matter of the Judicial Committee Act of 1833. And what he's saying is that when the king is removed, the British Parliament could decide to remove access to the Privy Council without any consultation with Jamaica. I feel a mechanic may well be on the way, because in reality, the government might have to cover the country's Apex ASS, by freely moving to this CCJ rather than the risk of having to run to the CCJ. Because we're coming in from the cold, kind of Privy Council dash we out. Dion, I love you, But I don't share your pessimism. I mean, let's be real. Nothing's going to happen this year. Next year's an election year. I believe the election has to be held before September 2025. But if public education is done thoroughly, Jamaican legal experts drop some lyrics on the CCC report, the CRC report, politicians reach consensus and bring the bill through Parliament, and all other people with a vote, this could be a really, really real reality in early 2026, right? Let's check out the real situation. As a 62-year-old independent country, the first English-speaking country to gain independence, the Jamaican people will ultimately say yes or no in a referendum and decide if sovereignty means a Jamaican head of state are on the thing, a Jamaican constitution will fix up proper, no second schedule but a standalone constitution of Jamaica with provisions drafted by the Jamaican people for the Jamaican people, and an apex court where you don't have to apply for a visa to reach. Time come, you know. I hope you're continuing to enjoy the journey, finding it educational and useful, auntie. And looking forward to our continued travels on this road to becoming a republic, truly independent and sovereign together. And I'm still very confident that the broke down Porsche is going to get fixed. You can find this podcast on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Podcast Index, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and soon come on YouTube. If you want to reason about anything or you can't find anything, any of the material I was talking about, you can email me on atasteofja@outlook.com. Until the next time, I thank you for supporting this podcast. Please share it with your friends and family. And again, I thank you for taking the time to listen. One love.